Hi, okay, today we're going to talk about types of reaction. You have to learn 4 types of reaction, okay? They are combustion, cellular respiration, photosynthesis, acid-base neutralization, okay? So let's get started. I'm going to start talking about what we as humans do, which is the cellular respiration. Now, you probably know by now that when we breathe in air, our body takes in the oxygen and uses it, and then we get rid of carbon dioxide, CO2. Okay? So I have a drawing of a handsome person right over here, and this person's taking in oxygen and breathing out the CO2, which you should hopefully know by now. Now it turns out fires do the same thing. A fire takes in oxygen and releases CO2. So let's start with the fire. Fire we call combustion. And this is the reaction you have to know. Everything in red is what you have to know. Okay? This part is the fuel, and the fuel can be different. So there are different things, but you should see that it's using oxygen, and it's after the reaction, it's giving off CO2 and some water. Okay? So in this, we should say that it's giving off CO2. It's also giving off water. Okay? Like I said, the fuel can change. Now we're going to move to cellular respiration. Basically what that means, if you think about the words, it means the breathing of cells, cellular respiration. And that's what every cell in your body does. When you take in oxygen into your lungs, you take air and the oxygen goes into your body, your blood brings a little bit of oxygen to every cell in your body, and every cell can use that oxygen and then give off a little CO2, which comes back and comes out when you breathe, okay? So cellular respiration. Now, you'll see you have to memorize this equation, okay? But it's not that bad, because if you look at it, this is the exact same as this. Something plus oxygen, O2, produces CO2 plus water. Okay? And I should say they both release energy. Okay? So combustion and cellular respiration are pretty much the exact same thing. The only difference is that in our bodies, we are using sugar. And you need to memorize that molecule, okay? It's glucose, which is a fancy word for sugar. And you're supposed to memorize, you can either work and balance it on your own, or it might be just easier to memorize the numbers to balance this equation. It's 1666. Okay, that's not too bad. 1666. That is cellular respiration. You have to know it. The next one is also really, if you know this one, you know that one, because photosynthesis is the exact opposite of cellular respiration. So I'm going to do it right now. Instead of producing CO2 and water, plants use CO2 and water. CO2 plus H2O, and then they take energy from the sun, sunlight, in other words, energy. Okay? They take energy, they take CO2 plus water, and they produce sugar and oxygen. C6, H12, O6, plus oxygen. And then to balance it, there's only one sugar. The rest is all sixes. 6, 6, 1, 6. Okay, this is the exact same formula. This is just flipped. And it makes sense if you think about it. We animals breathe in oxygen, release CO2. Plants breathe in the CO2 and provide us with oxygen. So we have plants, right? Okay, And then the last one you need to know is an acid-base neutralization. How are you going to know if I give you a chemical equation, and how are you going to know if it's an acid-base neutralization? Well, it has to have an acid and it has to have a base. And when you mix an acid and a base, you get salt and water. Acid plus base gives salt plus water. Acid plus base gives salt plus water. You got to say it many times and you'll never forget it. Okay, how do you know an acid? Well, an acid has H's, a base has OH's, right? Acid plus base gives salt, which is a metal and nonmetal, plus water. Okay, so you are expected to memorize examples of these three. These are exactly like this. There can be many. Realistically, are they going to ask you to write the exact equation? I don't know. It doesn't happen very often, but that's what's expected. Okay? But you definitely should know how to identify these. Okay? If I give you this reaction, you should be able to tell me, oh, this is taking in carbon dioxide and water, and it's making sugar. That's photosynthesis. Oh, this is a fuel with oxygen gives CO2 plus water. It's not sugar. If it was sugar, it would be cellular respiration, but it's not sugar, so it must be something burning, a combustion. Okay? So let's go over it just one last time. There are 4 types of equations you need to know. You need to know combustion, cellular respiration, photosynthesis, and acid-base neutralization. Combustion and cellular respiration are really similar because both have a fuel with oxygen, and when they react, they produce carbon dioxide and water. The difference is cellular respiration, the fuel is actually sugar, C6H12O6. Photosynthesis is cellular respiration backwards. It's what plants do. And they take in CO2 and water, and with some energy from the sun, they make sugar, okay, and oxygen. That's why plants can produce sweet things like corn. The last reaction is an acid-base neutralization, and the rule is acid plus base makes salt plus water. Acid plus base makes salt plus water. Oh, I get my tongue tied. Okay. How do you identify that? Well, you know an acid has H's, you know a base has OH's, and a salt is a metal, nonmetal, and water. Okay? So here you go. The important stuff that doesn't change is in red, and the balanced stuff is in purple. I hope this helps. Now you know a little bit more of chemistry, right? Okay, bye.